There was a new strike spot that is talking about patch 9.0. So some of this we do not have dates on it, but there's a part about the new raids, which they said is coming on the 27th. So I'm going to imagine that all of the things that we're going to talk about here in this video are going to be coming between now and the 27th. Oh, I got to say this, there is something called Overpowered, and this one might be a controversial. Some people might like it. Some people may not like it, but I'll explain it very quickly. Is the powered number is here, and it's represented by a 9. And you'll be able to see what your opponents have and what you have. And whenever your number exceeds their number, then your character is overpowered. And they're saying that you could be overpowered by 1, 2, or 3 levels. But for right now, it's only going to be in the number of 1 levels. We'll explain how that number goes up here shortly, but when a 9 character goes against an 8 character, let's say, this is what they're going to get. Against enemies with 1 overpowered rank lower, this character automatically wins in speed bar speed stat ties. The way it works right now, it is a coin flip. So like if you do a mirror match, coin flip decides who goes first. Well, in this particular case, a 9 overpowered versus an 8 overpowered will win the coin flap, gain 50% damage, and then gain 50% focus. Well, how do you get overpowered? Overpowered is going to be determined by 3 factors. I don't think I have the screenshot here. Gear tier level of the character, like level 105, and ISO. Specifically, gear tier 20, level 105 is a breakpoint, and purple ISO 3 is a breakpoint. So right now, today, if you're fighting a gear tier 19, 105 purple 3 versus the same thing, there's no difference. It'll work the same. But if you're fighting against somebody that is gear tier 18, or if they're at 104, or if they have purple ISO 2, effectively this is going to turn on. This is also going to happen as gear tier 20 comes to the game. So when gear tier 20 comes to the game, they're going to get this advantage over anybody that is not gear tier 20, which is kind of scary because there's stat increases that come with coming to gear tier 20 in addition to this boost right here. So a gear tier 20 Odin is absolutely going to be a menace against all non-gear tier 20 characters. Any characters that at gear tier 19, the Odin will not only be getting the gear tier 20 bonus, which would say it's 20% extra stats, also going to be getting 50% extra damage and 50% extra focus. So this is going to be disruptive, and I do not know when this is going to go in. Big Spartan drafted up a document, and I want a big shout out to him for typing it up. Overpower assigns an overpower tier to each character. Tier is based off of level, gear tier, and ISO progression systems. And currently those thresholds are gear tier 19, gear tier 20. The level, which is like 100, 105, I believe it, like there's no difference between going from 100 to 101 or going from 101 to 102. The breakpoint is 105. If you're at 105, you get an extra point. And then same thing with the ISO progression system. It's going to 3, going from 2 to 3 gives you that extra point. Tier 1, if the attacking character is ahead in 1 of the progression system. Tier 2, if they're ahead in 2, and likewise for 3. They're not releasing tier 2 and tier 3 at this time, but this is something that they talked about in the video. They also mentioned that this is only enabled on PvP, but they may do PvE, player versus environment, at some time in the future. And interestingly enough, in the video, it did show raids, and it did have the empowered icon, which is typically was described by this right here. You could see like the little hex thing right there with a 9. That's 9 empowered level. All right, let's keep going down the list. If the tier is the same, the character doesn't get a bonus. So if they're both 9, nothing happens. Only launching with tier 1. Tier 2 to come later. Tier 1, so if they're one overpowered over the other team, 50% extra damage and focus, win speed bar, and stat ties. Okay. We got to get going here. Chaos Raid. So there are going to be some new Chaos Raids. They gave a date of that on March 27. 2 different maps, Chaotic Storm and Chaotic Storm Omega. Chaotic Storm will start with only default difficulty with 8 lanes per strike team, 1 lane per person, emphasizing the nodes, rewards over completion rewards. Chaotic Storm Omega will have multiple difficulties, and so each person will be able to select their own difficulty essentially. And if someone comes behind you in the same lane, they can pick the difficulty in their lane. So this should allow for people to play at their level rather than this idea of everybody in the alliance be of similar size and everything like that. So that's kind of a nice thing. I think there was a lot of controversy back in the day where it felt like they were pushing casual people to be only in casual alliances and only, you know, hyper aggressive, engaged people to be in similar types of alliances. And I know that caused a lot of fallout with people that wanted to play with their coworkers or wanted to play with their cousin. And now one of them was taking the game more seriously, and they had to move on because, you know, competitive players were incentivized to play with other competitive players. And I believe this is a reversal of that. So I think that is good. Chaotic Storm Omega will have multiple difficulties. Boss nodes will no longer affect completion percentages for the Alliance. I kind of got the feeling that the boss nodes was going to be kind of like null, and and it was like a bonus thing to do. The requirements: difficulty 1, none; difficulty 2, and then it ramped all the way up to difficulty 5 with purple 3. And I took a screenshot of that right here. So there's no restrictions. Difficulty 5, purple 3, ISO. So that's very interesting. Next on the list right here is can change the difficulty of every node, including the bosses on Chaotic Storm. Can only change the difficulty in bosses in Chaotic Storm Omega if you're not already at the highest difficulty of the raid itself. Retreating or quitting allows you to reset the node and change the difficulty, but the damage to your character remains. So if you back out of a node, you can adjust the difficulty down. Like if you go into one that's too hard, there's going to be a way where it's a little bit more forgiving and you could drop down. Cool. Global milestone. So this is a new feature, and we'll see how this works. We'll begin the test milestones before officially launching with rewards. So they're going to introduce this global milestones, and we're going to, without any meaningful amount of rewards, maybe it'll be like cosmetics or something. They didn't say. First, we'll launch in a couple weeks involving collecting McCracken crystals, which is for Lilandra. Command Center. Visual overhaul for tracking milestone progress for advanced slowly rolled out over the next few months. And what they showed looked pretty confusing to me, frankly, as far as the command center. I believe what they're trying to do is to clean up some of the confusion that is happening right here in the events. I know for me, my biggest gripe with the event section is that the individual energy, like why can't they show that you're at 120 out of 120 energy right here? Because we got all these red dots on the outside, 7 red dots. Well, where are the red dots? What is the red dot for, right? The red dot is because this is at 120 out of 20 energy, right? And then it's just annoying. I mean, so they're acknowledging that the system is bad and that they want to make changes to it in the future. And they believe that this command center will be an overhaul to that system, and that should be better. And it looked like there was tabs that you could toggle and get through it and see through the events rather quickly with the rewards in a meaningful way. It did look like it was a good thing. Now, a lot of people have been talking about Starjammers, and I've got to say this, like, I don't feel like they're working correctly. And I'm sure the people that bought Starjammers want them to be boosted, and then the people that didn't buy Starjammers, you're making cases for why they should not be boosted. The one thing I'll say, though, is a lot of people have said that they oversold them, and I kind of agree. There's one line here that when they were talking about the Starjammers that I don't believe has proved to be true so far. It says the full Starjammers teams are docking soon near a Cosmic Crucible platform near you. When they step foot before the living tribunal, the full team is bringing a list of abilities that allow you to take down some of the top teams that have been putting a big old grin on the three-phase judge of the Crucible. And I believe a lot of people are saying that this is simply not true in their current state. For me, there seems to be some inconsistency on the turn meter gain, specifically against enemies that have barrier, namely Illuminati. I would think at a minimum those inconsistencies need to be sorted out and identified so we can actually see what we're looking at and why the team is actually failing. Is it failing because of some bugged placement issue where the placement of the team and the enemies is very specific on the turn meter and how that works, and that is what is creating the problems? Or is the team itself just underpowered? And I hope that they don't make multiple changes. And this is my opinion, but there were some changes made to, let's say, like Spider Society. And at the time, they boosted the speed on Peter B and Penny. And it made Spider Society at the time of their release a little bit overpowered. They were a bit much. And in some ways, a lot of people in the community feel that the Spider Society was overtuned at that point because of those changes. And I think there is a balance and a happy medium on this, and I don't know what that is. And frankly, it's up to Scopely, right? It's their problem. But at a minimum, the inconsistencies on the turn meter and the placement needs to be addressed and get sorted out. And then whether or not the team needs a boost will remain to be seen. But I have been completely underwhelmed with this team. It has been completely disappointed from my point of view. And as someone that bought the team, I wish they performed better. And likewise, I feel like people saying they should not be boosted or, are making cases because of their own personal situation. And, if I had it my way, they would be boosted, right? Because I bought the team and I want to get more value out of them. Lastly, just wanted to go over some of the player voice comments from the trip. I was there with Ash. It says, hello, everyone. MSPV leadership was provided opportunity to join the envoys at Scopely HQ this week to discuss and provide feedback on the new game mode, game interface updates, and improvement to existing modes. Played a prototype of the roguelike game mode and are optimistic that it could be fun and repeatable PvE content for all players. Is slated to be released in the second quarter. I agree with that. That was my take exactly. Previewed the new interface to bring together information on various events and excited to see more information in one spot, which was also featured in the Strike Spot video. I couldn't understand what was going on. I think it'll be great. I feel like they'll do something. Anything's better than the system we have right now. Saw improvements to existing game modes, including the difficulty slider and future raids, what they showed in the video today, and how war mode could be more based on strategic decisions instead of focusing on efficiency of war attacks. And I may be in a minority in there. I like the concept of what they're saying, but how they were going to do that did not agree with me in the presentation that I saw. As always, the player voice movement focus on our input on you and how everyone can enjoy the game, from longtime players to those who just started the game. I like that. Let me know what you think in the comments section. As always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.